with Mr. Rohr earlier today, and that has since been taken off the table. Am I remembering right, Tim, that you said it was not viable in your microphone?
Yeah, the proposal was put forth by the athletic department. I had questions for them on the proposal. I asked those and asked them to go back and think about it. They called today and said that they weren't withdrawing their proposal. They weren't interested in that proposal, which was a fundraising proposal, and it had a lot of money tied to it. It had to do with purchasing a piece of equipment for which a company then had the rights to sell ads on that equipment. It was a scores table, but it required the district to had a large responsibility for having sponsorship nights and stuff. I said, you got to think if the amount of money we're going to get back is worth the additional time you need to put in
And the
to have all those
energy,
nights,
the
because
follow-up.
our
Yep.
department's having a tough time keeping up with what we already do. Not mine, but athletics. I said, I'll support you whatever you want to do. He said he thought about it, and there was no way they could uphold their end of the bargain. They're withdrawing that proposal.
Very good. I would say that sounds like a wise decision. It's always good when we recognize what our bandwidth is, either individually or as a department. So, okay. All right. Next up, I did not see any gifts in the drive unless there was something last minute. So no gifts this month. Okay. Very good. Budget transfers. Quite a number of them, but was glad to see it was all tied to all of our savings, what you were just speaking about in facilities with energy. And again, that's combination of propane, oil, electric. Was there a fourth one, or is it just the three? Okay.
There's
Very
four.
good. All right. So why don't we do the first one? Yep. So Ken, if you want to speak to any of these, this would be great. I mean, it's spelled out in the paperwork, but I think good for those who are watching from home.
Yep, so the first one is taking and moving money from our overtime line, which we have savings in this year because we've been more adequately staffed, and moving it into our summer employment line because we are full staffed and we have, I think it was 10 working days or 11 working days, something like that. We just a little short if we bring all 34 on right day one. So I wanted to staff that, fund that correctly. The next one, let's make sure it's the same one in my hand here.
Should be for the $20,003.
That one is taking oil surplus money saved in oil this year, and moving it to the custodial replace equipment line. We work well with the custodial group, and we pulled, what kind of equipment would you like to see or change or needs replacement, and we've identified a significant list, and so it seemed like an opportune time to replace a bunch of things, so that was that one.
And then our next item is for $20,760. That was the
That is
one for
taking
rubbish.
more oil money and making our trash account right. Our contract is like a mid fiscal year contract, and there was some increases to our contract this year. So this was to cover some of that, and also to cover some more extra tipping fees that we don't usually have.
25,544.
25,544. That's taking surplus propane or savings in propane and moving it to custodial supplies so that we can purchase some trash liners and a little bit of finish that we need. And I guess we don't need to get a lot of finish. It's more the trash liners. We have two trash liners that one is a custom made liner for some of our barrels. So we wanted to get a jump on that for the beginning of the year.
Next one is, we're getting bigger in our numbers.
Yep.
Before we go back down, 82,350.
82,000 is taking a little bit of money that we had left over in pest service, and then a significant amount of money out of construction service and moving it to repair and maintenance to make that account right. Some of that, or a portion of that $82,000 is our pickleball courts, because we paid for that, ran the account in the red. We reimbursed insurance from that, but that's where this would come from. The other bit of that was covering some services, it's like plumbing, emergencies, and things like that, while we didn't have a plumber, and some electrical stuff that we had before we had our plumber.
Was the what buildings was the HVAC? Was it for one particular, like the middle school, or just?
No, just district-wide
Wide.
service calls of things when we didn't have a staff member.
Okay.
And then the small last $442,011 is just writing the construction accounts. So moving from elementary line to high school line. And it's savings from the life safety renovations and moving it to additional cost for the dam was a major reason that we have that deficit in that line.
Okay. But the dam is completed,
Dam is
right?
done, yes.
Dam is done.
There was an overage in some concrete work, not above and beyond, and the actual contract itself was more than we had budgeted when we came back from bids, significantly more, not a little more.
Right,
But we talked to the board about, you guys about that through this whole time.
right.
So this was just writing that account, or, balancing it out.
Just a quick little backstory for those at home, and then for Kevin and Paige. If you go down Arch Street, like towards Stonewall Farm, you've passed the high school. It's on the same side of the high school. Right there at the intersection of Arch Street and Hurricane, right?
Yeah.
Is a dam which is part of the body of water, which is then connected to all of Alumni Field, and going back many, many decades. The reason why we have Alumni Field, it was gifted to the school sort of in exchange for this. So in essence, the district owns that dam. And it was in desperate need of repair. So that is why.
We own the responsibility of the dam.
Thank you.
Alumni Association owns the associated fields and the dam, but we have an agreement with Alumni Association that all their holdings are maintained by us for exchange for using their fields. So we don't really own it,
Right.
but
Thank you
we
for that
have all the
clarification.
responsibilities of owning it.
Yeah.
Right.
Can we relook at that agreement?
We have done that for
Yeah.
years with attorneys. So, but what we should do is maybe talk about it and orientate it before we bring that back up again. But, so we went, our original thinking, the board's at the time, not ours, was to take the dam out. We did not think it was prudent to follow through with that based on our attorney. We also, the owner, which the Alumni Association, did not approve of that. So, but there's a lot of back history, like years of it. And
I'm familiar with some of it, but I'm sure I don't have the full story.
yeah.
Yeah.
Kudos.
Plus,
They tried to get the city to pick up the tab. Kudos.
right, we
Kudos on
did
that.
try
We,
that.
we tried to
There's-
pay for it and just get the city to take over
Right.
ownership of it.
I know.
Yeah, yeah.
And
And
that didn't
there's
go over
also
well.
for lack of a better word, a homeowners association that's also impacted by all of that with that body of water, so.
The
there's-
neighbors, all the neighbors like their body of water in their backyard.
Yeah, yeah.
Waterfront property.
And I believe one of them was the one who gifted.
I'm sorry, Paige, I'm having a hard time hearing you.
I think one
Sorry.
of them was the one who gifted.
No, I mean, this goes
Yeah.
way, way, way
Yeah.
back, like
Yeah.
I've got documents from it, so anyway.
I don't think so.
No?
No.
No.
Was involved, but not gifted on the city side.
And I've
It's-
got some
well,
documents I can show you that we can take.
We can talk
Anyway.
about it.
Yeah.
It would be interesting
Yeah.
to know a little more.
Okay. And then you've got one more, I don't know. Oh, sorry, Kevin. Yes.
I had a question just on the repair of the dam. How long will this be good for now? Like I'm
Oh.
assuming for quite a long time.
Hopefully 50 years.
Beautiful.
Okay. There's a few more budget transfers. I don't know, Tim or
Sure.
Ken. We've got the Wheelock for 15,000.
So the Wheelock is for psychological contracted services. been kind of a theme all year, and they're taking it from special education para salaries because we had staffing shortages and had money there.
And then we've got the high school at 16,560.
Really the same story here. And it's not tied to any change. It's just they didn't have enough money to complete the contract, and they're taking it from a Keene High School software line for which they're not spending the money. They're changing a software that they're using. I think mainly Edmentum.
Sorry, what did you say? What was the last thing you said? What was
Edmentum. It's the name of a educational software that we found really isn't ideal for high school kids, and we're paring that down to use for just those students who can most benefit.
Thank you.
Any other questions on any of the budget items? None? Okay, with that said, we can accept these all as a bundle. Can I have a motion to approve the budget transfers as presented?
So moved.
That's a recommendation to the full board.
Yes, with a recommendation to the full board. Right. Yeah, I was going to say, okay, I was looking at my little cheat sheet. Yes, very good. Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Carries 4-0. All right. Cyber attack update.
So nothing new on that.
Okay.
I'm just working with insurance and trying to recover the last $26,000 through insurance. We'll have $1,000 deductible, so I think we're going to be pretty much made whole out of 2.2 million.
Good.
Great. Thank you again, Tim, to you and your staff. And yes, go
I
ahead.
was just gonna say, happily surprised on that one.
Me
When
too.
that first happened, I think we were all like, "Ooh,"
I felt confident I could get it back, but I wasn't sure. And I feel now that I know what I know, I feel very fortunate because it's unusual to recover the funds.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And again, just to recap for those that are maybe watching at home, you were already in the process of adding some additional layers of security when this happened last August. And where are we at now with all of that? Is that all in place?
Yes,
Okay.
that's all in
Excellent.
place. We're still tweaking the permissions and different levels of security,
Mm-hmm.
but the ACH block is all on. There's blocks every single day.
Excellent. Great. Thank you, Tim. All right. Project Keep update.
So the families that still owe money from 23-24 all received bills from my office this week. They went out last week. I'm taking a plethora of calls and working through. We've started to get payments in. We'll see how it goes. Not everybody's thrilled, but most people I've talked to are understanding, and they really appreciate the board's generous discount offer. Some people are upset that they can't get the discount and not pay right away, but we have to draw the line somewhere. And our tenets are, we're going to give everybody a discount because it is our fault. We can't forgive the expense because we have to stay in business, and this is not a program subsidized by taxpayers. And anybody that is struggling, we'll set up a payment plan and make it as easy as possible. But the biggest discounts are those who pay the most quickly. So there's a big discount at 30, drops down to 60 days, and then after that it's 10%, whether you pay on the 61st day or it takes 3 months and we do a payment plan. We're also spending a lot of time trying to fix this year's Project Keep billing, which has got issues as well. And we're getting there.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm glad the bills went out and you're hearing from families so that, hopefully we'll start to see those payments come in. And with our full board, not until the 20th, during our full board, if you can give us obviously an update at that point, I'm hoping you'll have a better sense of what you've received thus far and
I'll have
what
an amount.
timelines.
I'll
Yeah.
have an amount that says we've recovered X.
Yep.
I think so far I've recovered like 3 payments, but by then it should amount to something and give an idea of how it's going to go.
Excellent. Any questions for Tim?
Good.
Okay. All right. Anything for special ed? That's just one of our standing items. I'm not aware of any if you're not either, Tim. Yeah, and so now on to other. We have an other this month. In your drive, you should have seen a letter from Rob, from Superintendent Millay. Our friends in Marlow have requested to have 9 students, 9 incoming 6th graders for the 25-26 school year to move to Keene Middle School. This is a short-term plan. This is not just sort of an automatic. To recap, remember, we just approved, as well as the voters in March, for our new AREA agreements for the next, 25 years? 20 years. Marlow currently does not send their students to Keene Middle beginning in 6th grade. So this is the request that's before us here. So it's starting with finance because obviously there's financial impact, and then it will go on to the full board. Do you want to expand on any of that?
Yeah, so the tenets of this request is from the Marlow School Board. I mean, we take students from other districts often, little onesies. What we don't do is tuition agreements or AREA agreements without a more formal process. This is something we've done with other districts in the past. They're saying, can we send our 6th grade? And we know we have room. It's additional tuition for us, but it is not a tuition agreement. It would be non-AREA, which is our standard rate for anybody, whether a private citizen or another school district sends a one-off student to this district. If we were to make a formal long-term arrangement, either AREA or tuition, we would, in most cases, need a vote of the public. It would have to go to the State Board of Education. So this is saying, hey, Marlow wants to send their 6th graders. Will we accept them? I recommend that you approve this arrangement. Nothing more formal. And the only tenet is that they send all their available students or eligible students, and we take all their eligible students. So we don't discriminate. We don't decide we can take this one and not this one. They're going to send them all. It's a small school. Some years they have just a couple. And I expect it'll be short term. They will either grow and decide to move back to Marlow or continue to shrink and want to make it permanent. And at that point, they would either ask for a tuition agreement, or we would ask, or to join the AREA. Really, the AREA is a long-term commitment, hard to change, hard to get into. That's something you would want to have a couple years of experience with. So maybe after a year or two of this kind of informal arrangement or approval, we would move into something more formal.
Okay.
So I just have a question.
Yeah.
How did this come about? Yeah, well, I guess I just.
This letter from the school board, they had been planning to
From Rob.
ask this, but that's why this letter came from the school board. Rob sent it, but it was on their behalf, and they're requesting to come in. So they would like to have their 6th grade, which we have a number of districts that had 6th grade at their own school who've decided to pare down, because you can do a K1 teacher, a 2, 3, and a 4, 5. If you have small classes, then you have a 4th teacher with half the amount of students that you need. Makes it very hard to be inefficient. So since these districts have been lowering in size, like Nelson did recently, used to do K through 6, they jumped to K through 5 so that they could split up those multi-grade classrooms easily.
Right. And if memory serves, Marlow currently sends to Keene Middle, is it starting 7th grade, or are they one of our schools that starts 8th grade?
They're in a AREA agreement, 7, 8,
Yeah.
and another one,
And
9,
then 9
12.
through 12, yeah.
Yeah, now that makes sense.
Um, The letter currently states there would be 9 students. I suspect Marlowe sees less folks moving in, moving out versus Keene, but where I'm going with this is I'm hesitant when making a motion. I don't think we should specify the 9 because I don't want to pigeonhole if things change either way. You know, it's one thing to go down a number, but going up,
Well,
we don't want it to.
those are good
Delay things.
instincts. They just wanted to give you an idea how many students it was. I looked at these numbers when
Yeah.
I was projecting Keene numbers for revenue for next year because I anticipated this happening. This has been kind of out in the open, but we wouldn't want to accept a number of kids. What we're doing is accepting all of their eligible kids, regardless if it turns into 18 or 5. Now, keep in mind, we have one of our lowest enrollments in Keene Middle School in decades next year.
Right.
We can use all the kids we can get to keep those numbers up. So we can, if this went to 30, we could accommodate. So I'm not worried about those fluctuations, and it won't go to 30.
I think there's 40 in the school.
Right. So
right.
out of 7 grades,
Right,
what
right.
they're running now. So it's not the number of students, only that's in the idea. And it's
It's
really
just sixth
important that
grade.
it's not a choice. So they can't, if they agree to this, we're not allowing them to send 3 to us and 3 to another district.
Right.
It is an
All
all
in
or
with
nothing,
Keene
which is
Middle.
all our tuition.
Yeah, go ahead, Paige.
Is there a number, for instance, let's say 30 people move to Marlowe? Is there a number, or is there a way that they could back out? Or is this once we sign it?
They could back out. I would say that they shouldn't back out during a school year. It's hard on kids and it's not practical. But we're not signing anything formally. We're saying they asked, we'll accept them for the year. But they could technically back out because we're not signing anything. But it's not very good practice to have kids go part of the year.
Yep.
But at the end of next year, it's short term, no commitment by us and no commitment by them. They can back out next year, or we could say next year, that's okay. We don't want to take your students next year. This is just, we'll accept you for next year.
I guess that's where my question is. For next year, are we signing some kind of agreement? I know it's not a tuition agreement or an area agreement. Are we sending some kind of agreement that says we will take all of your kids? You need to send all of your kids, and there's no backing out. Just from a budgeting perspective.
Well, we're not budgeting anything extra for them.
Oh,
So
you're not.
whether they come or not, our budget won't change. But it isn't that formal. I think our letter is going to say, we'll agree to take your kids next year, and you have to send all your eligible kids, which I already wrote a motion for this for the full board, but Shayna and I, but that's important, and that's really smart. But it's just not that formal. But if we get too formal, then it really can't be done in this process. It's a tuition agreement.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, I'm just wondering how this would affect the AREA. I mean, I guess if this becomes something more formal down the road, it's not a problem. I'm just curious as how you guys have you talked about how you.
So it won't affect your AREA because
No,
you're in
not
you're in 2 AREAs.
Right.
I mean 1 AREA.
One.
You're in 9 through 12.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't be affected.
No.
There's an AREA that's just 6th grade,
Yeah.
and one that's 7th and 8th.
Right.
So if Keene or Marlowe decided they wanted to make it more permanent in a couple of years, the way it would affect is we would let everybody know, and we would be able to allow between Keene and Marlowe, they can get in without asking permission of the other people in the AREA.
I see.
To get out, it's more difficult.
I have one more question.
Go ahead, Paige.
So you talked about how they will pay the tuition. Who's paying for the transportation?
They pay for their own transportation. All the districts pay individually, their own company contracts.
And again, I want to emphasize what you mentioned earlier, Tim. We physically have the space at the middle school. Um, you know, any additional students add, in my opinion, more to the table in terms of students that are participating and the co-curriculars, being in the classroom, um, and we've got a lot of good stuff going on at the Keene Middle School. And Marlowe's already part of our AREA agreements, just not at this early stage for our sixth graders. So we have a long-standing relationship between Marlborough and Keene School District. Tim, you said you've already worked up a motion for full board on the 20th. Are you needing us to use that same motion for recommending to the full board for our meeting here this evening? Or you're
Yeah.
just sharing this with us? Because I didn't,
No,
I don't have
what
any
I would ask is
formal
that the
motion.
board, you don't have to, but I would ask that the finance committee make a recommendation to the full board to approve Marlowe to be short-term tuition students for all eligible sixth graders. Yep.
That was a motion for short-term tuition.
At the non-area rate. Or you can call it the standard rate.
Okay, let me give it a shot then at the motion. So I'll make a recommendation to approve to the full board that Marlowe is allowed to send all of their eligible sixth grade students for the short term for the 25-26 year at the non-AREA or the standard tuition rate.
Second.
Any other comments or questions? Kevin looked like you had.
No,
wanted to
no,
say
no. I'm
something.
just going to say I think it's a good move. I think it shows a lot of grace from, school districts working together. This can, it's never really been an issue here with our SAU, but it's nice to see that we can all, do well for each other. So
Right.
I think this is a good motion and a good recommendation. So.
At the end of the day, it's all about the students. That's number one. Okay. All right. With that said, all those in favor? Opposed? Okay, that carries 4-0. All right. Do we have any other? Oh, microphone.
Wasn't really a gift. Remember? Sorry.
Okay, that's okay. Disregard. No gifts this month. Okay. Any other? Tim, Ken? No. Okay. All right. And again, if something comes up, you've got an extra bonus week since we don't have our full board till the 20th. All right. With that said, and we've had no public input, so we'll close public input and finance.